professor from Netherlands.
Excellent.
Piet Kommers.
Great.
He have very interesting life experience. I look his website. It is very interesting problem you can find here.
Okay, so you may start.
Thank you. Well, maybe today, well, it's of course a pleasure. It's a pity that I could not come. I'd hoped to be among you, and then it would have been more flexible. But it's wonderful, Alexei, that you arranged this meeting via Skype. Maybe so. This is my position. I'm here in the eastern part of Holland, in the green circle, called Enschede, near the German border. This is the Germany border. Is it clear, my voice? Can you hear me?
Yes, sure, we can hear you quite well.
Excellent, excellent. So, well, my university is the University of Twente, and in the Netherlands, and our department is the Media, Communication and Organization. So it's not so much that I'm in education. I was it a long time before. But nowadays we are training our students to become communication specialists, and my job is to go to the social media. Well, all right. So social media is really my topic, and besides looking to communication, of course, we also look to the education. This is our group. The group is in, let's say, we have about 8 or 10 members. Our main professor is Jan van Dijk. He is the specialist in the network society, and we have some young colleagues, junior colleagues, and one of the research topics is the roboting for elderly people. You can see there is a big need in the coming years that there are many older people, very few younger people, so we need roboting to take care for our elderly people. Okay, so this is our group, many younger people, and well, we do a lot of research in how to help future society by using social media and by many other things. One of my current projects is called Feeling Younger by Getting Older, and the goal is to minimize the gap between the older and the younger people, because yes, you know about education, the elder people can help, they have more experience, they can help the younger generation. We need to find that out. Our university is, let's say, growing more and more as an international university, and well, we have our typical courses on the mathematics, physics, etc. And we have also now new studies like communication studies, computer science, and European studies as well. This is our the programs. You can see most of them, the master programs, most of them is taught in English, and few are just taught in Dutch. We have many students from Germany. They learn Dutch language, and then they are taught in psychology, science education, technical medicine, and master of teaching in social sciences. Well, you can see that. By the way, Alexei, how much time do I have? What's time? Yeah.
In principle, as much as you need.
All right. Okay.
You used to make interesting presentations, so we are watching it. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. So you can see here the pink area is the foreign students. So it's about let's say about 10% nowadays. 10% is then the bachelor, is international, the master, and the PhD. The PhD is bigger. The PhD is up to 50%. You can see. So we have a growing interest in attracting students from abroad. If you can see our budget, it's about it's about, let's say, 300 million euros every year, and the larger part, 189 million, is directly funded by the government, A smaller part, about 30 million, is competitive funding, and that's, of course, we have also EU funding, and in total, yes, so we are very much dependent on our state budget. We cannot survive just by competitive funding. The good thing is that there's a large number of offspring, the spin-off of our university. You can see here there are two types of offspring. The yellow part we support it. We pay the young enterprises, our scientists who finish here, who graduate. We give them money to start their own companies. And there's also the blue part is the companies that are surviving anyway. So they are just surviving because they are on our campus, and they just benefit from the research outcomes. Now we have innovated our campus since 2 years, and you can see there's a big hall, conference hall, and this is a square where the people meet. So we had another center, but now it's the new center. It's the big hall, and if you come here, you can see it. This morning I was just downloading a very recent lecture. It's about internet trends. Let me see if I can shift it. Yes, better. This morning, Mary Meeker and Liang Wu, they presented a new report, and I would like to give you some of the outcomes. Where is it? Let's see if I can show it. Yes. So what they are showing is there are some new strong trends in internet development, and let's say important is that there is a shift in education. That's part of their message. They're also looking for trends in medical care, etc., and in the new trends of the media. But I think I will focus here on the aspects of what they see. You can see some big trends. For instance, Dropbox. It was number 71 in 2009, but now 2012, Dropbox has moved to the 6th place. So the first place is Twitter, second place now is YouTube, third place is Google Docs, Google Search, WordPress, Dropbox, Skype, PowerPoint, Facebook, and Wikipedia, etc., etc. So you can see there is a big. This is the list of the most important tools for education. Right? Please, if you want to do any discussion, just raise your hands, or Alexei, drop in and make me stop, and we can have a discussion.
All right.
Is it? Yes?
Sure.
Any remark, please drop in. Huh?
Okay.
Good. Let me go to the next. Where's my cursor? Needs to go. Yeah, so open universities, they are still growing. And what we see is that North America, there is a large enrollment. You can see here many students nowadays, they benefit from the Coursera, the massive open online courses. That is a big growing area. And the question, and also on the left side you can see the iTunes U already gained some momentum. I am drinking a small piece of coffee. I can still remember the Ukrainian word for the Nazdravnie is called Хорошо, right?
All right.
You still use that word. I was there in your group, yes, fortunately many times. But long time ago. Is Katerin Synica also at yours?
No, she's not here, but hopefully she's watching us online.
Oh, online. Excellent.
From Kiev, because currently we are not in Kiev. We are in Sumy, and Catherine is in Kiev now.
Oh, okay. If you hear me, Catherine, please be sure I very much appreciate to give this conference, and I hope we can soon meet in one of the coming projects. Fine. Well, let me look a little bit further. So academic leaders, they have a growing interest in MOOCs, online education, and you can see that in 2003, Most of them were rather pessimistic. They thought that online courses is inferior to face-to-face teaching. But if you look now, in 2012, there is a smaller part who is skeptic about the value of online, and there is a bigger part, the same, the yellow area. They say it can be similar effectiveness. So, and then of course this some part says it's even superior. Now, a few days ago there was a message from America. I think it was Columbia State University. They said that they were surprised that the majority of the students they liked to take the online courses from Brigham Young University in Salt Lake City rather than the online course by the same university from Columbia. And of course they were negative, they were very frightened that this would start to be, let's say, less and less students. Because the students openly said, we like the online course from Brigham Young much better than from our own university. And we can see now Australia universities get more and more nervous because by the MOOCs, many students from Asia, they will have shorter time on campus in Australia and longer time they already prepare themselves via web-based training. So we can see the enrollment, the proportion of the total amount of students in international students is getting higher and higher. And what we expect is that finally we will have more international students in our own campuses. That means that, well, we need to internationalize our courses. It's not enough to do it just in English. We need more and more international culture to satisfy the international students. Well, here it's a recent picture from the same report. It says that the marketing factors, that's the blue one, they still are on the same top level. So CEUs, Chief Executive Officers, they see the marketing factors as the most important one. But now you can see in 2010 there's a shift. They see the technological factors as the second one. Not so much the people skills. People skills are only on the fourth position that you can see. And of course the macroeconomic factors, like now we have a little bit of the financial decline. Macroeconomy is on the third place. On the fourth place is the people skills. And so this is a significant trend that technology factors have become more and more important due to the opinions of the chief executive officers. Well, what you see is that the red line is the employment in the US, the students who get a job. This is almost constant. It's a bit lower since 2009, but it's a bit recovering. But it's much more students who come and study there. And the distance becomes bigger and bigger. So in the first step, studying abroad, one of the motives was to get a job there. If you would study in the US or in Great Britain or in Holland, the hope was I can get a job there. Now there's too much competition and the number of jobs stays about the same. So what we can see is the argument to study abroad is less and less to get a job. It's not so much possible. This is to say that the bachelor degree, they become a smaller proportion, and a bigger proportion is the number of job openings for bachelor students. Yes, there are more openings, but less and less students get the real job, in fact. what we can see, the amount of time spent in media in the US is, of course, still the TV has a large proportion of the time, 42%, versus only in China it's only 29%. But if we look to the internet and the mobile communication, China has higher proportions. So what we see is that the desktop communication in the US gets less and less, but the mobile communication gets a higher proportion. Especially China is a trendsetter here. China has more internet and has more mobile communication than now in the US. So that is a strong indicator if you imagine the large number of people who are doing that. So the trend from China is to use more and more mobile communication. So we can see that the blue line is the US trend. It has been growing using iOS by Apple and the Android, but we can see now the red line is coming and it's crossing, it's surpassing the amount of internet devices in the US. So that's also a sign that the big trend is to get more mobile use of internet.
Sorry, one question.
Yes, please. Please.
Previous slide.
This one?
No, previous. Yeah, this one.
Yes.
So what do we compare? No, next one.
This one. Okay. Well, we have here.
Yeah, here.
The active, so the Apple operating system and Android, US versus China. So we can see in the past years up to 2012, the US was still in a majority. We can see now that during 2013, China is going to be higher. So at this moment, the US is not the major user of mobile devices.
So the question is it absolute values or percentage from, let's say, from total population?
I think it's absolute values.
But
so we can see, yes,
of
please.
China is much greater than population of United States, probably 5 times greater.
Yes,
so
but still, yes, you are right. You are right. So if we look to the steepness of this curve, if this trend is a significant one, if it's a real one, then we will see that because of the large population in China, the majority of users, let's say from commercial point of view, because China is a big market and the number of users is now already bigger in China, we can expect that companies like let's say, well, all the commercial apps on the mobile devices, they will focus more and more on China because of the absolute numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
I understand. Yeah.
So this is just to say that the proportion of the desktops, it's the green area, is declining. Notebooks have also already declining, and the growing area is the tablets, that's the orange part. So that's to say that this is the growing area even for the total markets. Well, it's a very recent data, so it's the same data. It's showing that the tablets are really now breaking through, despite of the notebooks and the desktops, right? Same here. This is the yellow line is the queries via the PC, and that's almost stable. It's a bit going back, but here the queries via the mobile devices is now a bit the same, already the same. And I did some research for the health insurance companies in Holland, and they take this for real. They invest a lot in mobile web applications at this moment. This is the prediction. Well, it is an interesting trend because each of them is increasing. In 2012, YouTube is the amount of use of YouTube is higher than in 2011. Same for Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, etc. One exception is that Facebook has went a little bit back. In 2012, there is less use of Facebook compared to 2011. And that's maybe one of the reasons that the stockholder, now since 1 week, stockholder of Facebook is declining. The market share of Facebook gets a little bit back. So the question is, why is it? Is there kind of deception in using the social media? We don't know, but these data already showed that in 2012 there was a small decline.
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yes, please, Alex.
Well, I read a kind of a theory about future of Facebook popularity. And the clue idea was that Facebook don't really respect privacy of people, and people become, tired
Right.
of
That could-
always have a crowd in their personal space. So this is the reason.
That's true. I can acknowledge that, the same perception from my side. What I see, our students get more and more scrupulous to be really frank and dump their whole private life on Facebook, because they know that their future employers, they will look through their Facebook history, and they might see they were not so serious, whatever. So it might hamper their career prospects. So now students, they go more and more to LinkedIn and have formal CVs on LinkedIn. So that's the same as your trend, Alex.
Yep.
Good. YouTube is still a growing area. So the number of YouTube hours of Facebook increasing, uploaded per minute. So you can see that here in the same month of May 2013 is an increasing amount of hours per minute. So you can see that, let's see, you have about 100 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube per minute. Can you see? So it's 100 hours of video to look uploaded in 1 minute. That's an amazing ratio. So there's a big interest to upload your life and interesting videos to YouTube. Well, yes,
Pete,
please,
I have to
go on,
note that
please.
video of our conversation will be also available at YouTube at our website.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
So we will contribute a little bit.
Yeah, we will contribute. It will be even higher. So please send me the link as well,
Sure, I will.
Alex. Yes, thank you. So this is my introduction in terms of general media development. And now I would like to go back to my early question that I already posed about 30 years ago, and I would like to bring it forward. The real question for education is if the big philosophers like Plato or Confucius in China, all those great persons, if they would have had access to the internet via Google, would they have had the same educational theories? If this is the case, if they would have the same theories, then the media are just a cosmetic layer. It's not really touching the essence of learning. But in this, at the same time, we can see in the schools, this is the propagation of the media consumption under the young people. You can see during school hours from 9 to 12, there's a very small proportion of media use. Also in the afternoon, between let's say 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, there's a very low propagation of the media. The big amount of media use, like social media, is in the beginning before school, during breakfast time and after school time. So it means that the real learning is not so much associated with the media use. So that's the real thing, and it might not change very soon. This is also one of my famous pictures. The picture says that if you look in the Middle Ages, the main aspect of life was to enjoy food, to enjoy music, of course to have sex, and to enjoy life. So in this society, in the 15th century, the people would not have benefited too much from the floppy disk, from the teletype, and so ever. So the message is, don't bring the media too soon to the school life, because there might be a conflict between the school culture and what the media can do, really. If you look back to the atmosphere in the classroom, the radio was an important tool in the 60s and the 50s because you could broadcast the lessons and the children felt very happy. Nowadays, they are all using their own mobile devices, and we can even go on back a step further. You can see the people were waving their hands in the pop festivals. Nowadays, they all make their photos in 2010 and beyond. So there is really the mentality use the media is getting higher and higher. Still, the basic essence of learning is staying the same. This is a very old picture. It's a carpet from the Middle Ages, and it shows that the essence of teaching and learning is that there is one teacher. He's correcting the students. He says, "Don't take the eggs from this bird nest." At the same time, he is pickpocketed. He's robbed by a pickpocketer. He takes the money, and you can see that the teaching element in society is a small one. The real thing in society nowadays is safety, is social security, is privacy. Those are the big issues. We can see that nature is always stronger, the mother breastfeeding the children, etc. So the teacher role is a very limited one, only maybe 3 or 4 hours a day that he can influence the students. Also, if we use the web, the library is still a strong metaphor. We have enjoyed too much the big libraries, we know that, but so far we can see that social media is much more the communication between the people, rather than only look into the box here. It's called Laterna Magica. The people can enjoy what's in the box, also what's in the books, but the real communication is between the people. They give themselves signs and they talk about what they see in the media. So the picture is important, it can be fascinating, but in fact it's the first step. And we can see it to the cinemas nowadays. If you go to the cinema, you have your mobile device and you can see how the movie is developing, and you can even use the SMS within the cinema. The basic paradigm is here based on Bentheim's Panopticon by Kenneth Wade. He's a philosopher. He says that what we still have in mind using the web is that we want to see the whole world, and we think this could be beneficial for learning by peeping, by lurking into the world around us. And that's still a pervasive thing coming from the same library aspect. Library still makes us curious. We can benefit more from learning. There are the two basic sources. It's the nature of learning and it's the culture of the learning. Now, the nature of learning is often ignored. I will give some examples later, that we still believe that if you eat during learning, it's not so good. You learn less if you start eating, or even the sleep. We have proven a few years ago that sleep is a very important process during the learning. If you take too much information without sleeping, you will not learn deep. You will only remember some factual things. So what's our goal in the media? To take care of the real nature of the learning in the culture. We should not leave too much culture. Culture is the convention. If you are listening, you should not sleep, etc. But maybe sleep is better. Also, we have the idea that contemplation, let's say rephrasing, reading like in a monastery, reading aloud, is better than this situation where we, since the 70s, we believe that real learners should look through the information, should think behind the information, and ask, for instance, who was writing it. So the skeptical mood, the critical thinking nowadays has gained momentum despite of the more elementary reading that we did before. Let's see. This is a famous situation when I was taught in the teacher academy. The teachers were very cautious to use the media because they think it's just a hassle. Nowadays we see the opposite. Now the students, they have the media all the time. We don't need extra classrooms, with the computer facilities, because students will be online all the time via the mobile phone, right? So the teachers now, they need to accept that the media are there always. We see a trend. The first mobile or the first telephone conversations was orchestrated by first men and later ladies. They did the patch panel. The men, they made mistakes to mingle into the conversations, and nowadays ladies later, they did not mingle in the conversation. They would just talk later as a gossip about the conversation between the participants in the communication. We can see in our young people, in our students, if they are online, they are very happy. If they are partly online, they are not so happy, and if they are not connected, they are not happy at all. So the job for our teachers is to talk to the students and use online communication all the time. It's not good to say, please switch off your telephones, because they will not feel happy. They have no access to the internet. Social media, is now everywhere, like Facebook and LinkedIn, and we can say nowadays the knowledge is between rather than within the persons. The people need to communicate before they can actually learn. They need each other. We need collaborative learning to make the learning deeper and more pervasive. We can see here, this was the situation for the last 10 or 20 years. The teacher would talk about the computer, and here the students are learning directly through the computer. And it's very complicated for the teacher to teach about the media while the students are enjoying the media themselves. This is a better situation. The teacher is using the media to teach in a direct way, and students will like it if the teacher has a very frank, open way to teach. You can see this is the symbol of the old Greek philosophy, that the real ideas, the pure ideas, they come from outside, and the teacher is just articulating the ideas so that on the screen the students get a more vivid impression of the concepts to be taught. This is the lesson by William Glasser. He has the intuitive idea that what we read, we only remember 10%, what we hear, we remember more, what we see, we remember even more, what we see plus hear, we remember about 50%, what we discuss with each other, we remember 70%, what we experience by real being in the situation, we remember 80%, but what we teach someone else, we remember 95%, almost everything, if we teach about a new topic. So this message means that we help our students if they can help other students to learn better. Then we can get a very high proportion of retention, so to say. Well, we see now that there is more and more attention for international education. Holland, well, we had a long history of colonialization, unfortunately, but nowadays we are much better friends with the young people, let's say in Indonesia and Suriname and also in China. We are going to recruit students, and you can see the NCD is presenting itself in this case in Jakarta a few years ago. This is the overall pattern. The most important thing is the active learning, by letting students teach each other in a problem-based learning. We call it problem-based learning. Constructivistic learning is important because students should make their own projects, should build their own ideas, should do something, should make something new. Collaborative learning is one of the tools, and we are keen on authentic learning. Not all students should learn the same. There are differential goals, and intentional learning is also a very important part of instruction. This morning I saw a nice cartoon. It was about a teacher who says to a number of animals, there's the monkey, there's the elephant, there's the snake, there's the bird, there's the fish, and the teacher says we should be very fair, each student should have the same test. And he says the test is to climb the tree. Now, of course, this test is not fair. It's the same test for all students, but students have different talents. And of course, in this case, the monkey will be very eager to climb the tree, but for the and of course the bird can do it even quicker, but for the fish and the element there is no way to climb the tree. So the message is that the type of test we are developing is decisive for the type of learning we want. If we have, let's say, tests based on retention, it's just not good to use the constructive learning, the collaborative learning, because some students will benefit more, and the students who are altruistic, they will not really get good test scores. So there is a friction between how we test and what we think is important to learn. So the basic obstacle now is to keep tests valid and fair for the new ways of learning. That's our main message. May I ask you, Alexei or Michael, is there any topic in the conference so far about test fairness?
Not really. You know, this conference is mostly divided more general stuff. I mean, we here try to avoid technological solution or some, exact approaches, pure pedagogical. So we used to talk about more general things like strategies, prospects, and so on.
Right. Okay. Well, let this be my contribution then to your conference. That
thank you. Thank you very much.
If we believe that the technology can improve learning, and from outside world we know that technology is penetrating more and more, especially the mobile devices, then we should be very careful to keep our testing paradigms up to date, so that there is no unnecessary regression back to the traditional way of factual learning, rote learning, rather than meaningful learning. We should keep our tests vital, and we should include the skills on how to use the mobile and the social media. That's my message. So Kenneth Dunn has made a very strong statement. If students don't learn the way we teach them, let's teach them the way they learn. And nowadays...
Great. That's great.
Okay, thank you. It's to the honor of Kenneth Dunn. So this is the overall message. Let me see. I think I'm already for 45 minutes. Let me continue a little bit. If you look to medical care, about 2 centuries ago, we see this operation room, the surgical room. It's primitive. There's a table with the patient, and just people are keeping the patient down in order to make the operation possible. If we look nowadays to the operation room, it's full of equipment, it's high-tech. Also in our university, we are training engineers who will be the doctor's assistant to use the equipment. It's a very crucial element in medical intervention. So we can see in 200 years, technology has penetrated high-tech medical practice. If you look to the lecture halls for teaching, 200 years ago we see this situation, and still we see similar situation 200 years ago. You see, it's the same blackboard now, is even the blackboard, we have the whiteboard, we have some loudspeakers, etc. But in fact, the main paradigm is the same. And here in medical, it's a bigger step to go to optimize the care for the patients. So my conclusion is that we should do more to make learning up to date, vivid, more effective, whatever, more active learning. And I will give you an example. First of all, we have some beliefs that are counterproductive. We still believe that students learn better when seated upright at the table or a desk, not sitting in the sofa leaning backwards. We believe it's not optimal, but there's no proof for that. Also, we still think students learn best in well-illuminated areas rather than being in the darker areas. Not proven yet. Students, we still think students, they learn more and perform better in an absolutely quiet environment. We don't like to teach in the classroom where the students are talking. So these are all, let's say, primitive notions. Also, we think students learn difficult subjects best in early morning when they are most alert. In the same time, we know that students who have a holistic learning style, this is with the students with a weak short-term memory, that they learn better in the evening, because in the evening they have much more ideas simultaneously in their attention. So this is not really true for all students. Some students, they will learn better in the morning, some learn better in the evening. Well, let me just skip for a smaller time because you can read it later. Also, we think that learning is better if the teaching is a very clear, linear, sequential explanation, rather than the teacher who makes concentric explanation. It's not proven that for all students this is true. So let me go a little bit further. Let me give you an example. I was teaching in Japan, just like Dr. Catherine Senitsa. She was also in, I think, in Osaka at Professor Mizoguchi. I was also teaching in Hokkaido, near Sapporo. And what I saw was this situation. This was a very, and still is, a traditional university. Students are learning and preparing the test for 3 or 4 months. And after that period, they get very enthusiastic. They make fancy fair. They start making their own food, their own music, their own drawing. They have nice clothes. And they invite the professors to come to the campus and enjoy their food. So they offered me their food. This is the case when students are rather harnessed in a very fixed way of learning due to the curriculum. They just receive the lectures and they need to reproduce the facts in their examinations. After that, they get very excited. In contrast, I was in Hakodate. It's near to Sapporo. They have the so-called Future University, where there's no lecture room. There's just these project rooms. Students are working together, like you can see here. They use the mobile phones, the K-ties, and they don't have such fancy fairs like here. They don't have that because they already have the full reality in their learning. So this learning is more effective, and they don't need to act out to, they call it now chilling. They don't need to chill because they have the real projects all the time. They already work at their jobs during studying. So the teachers are just helping them during the jobs. They go to the students if they have a problem. It's called problem-based learning. It proves that if we keep the students isolated from the real relevant jobs in society, they will do it because we ask it, but it is not real learning. They get artificial learning. If we give them the full reality, like in Hakodate, they will do more effective, more meaningful learning. Well, one of the questions we were coping with, how can we give the students more 3D immersive experience, like the virtual reality? We can give them the shutter glasses, and at the moment we are working to new interactive classrooms where the floors, the ceilings and the walls, they are all touch sensitive, and we want to give them more full experience in 3D worlds. We see that learning is one element, one moment. Also, for good learning, they need to work, they need to play, and they need to reflect. This is the real important complementary steps for effective learning, for active learning. This is my future message. This is my synthesis of the message. Learning, working, and playing need each other. There's a large intersection between them, and we know already that learning and working can go very well together. Also, we know that learning and playing can go together. Remember Montessori and all types of early education. We know that playing is important for learning. What we are not sure yet in how far the playing and the working can work together. This is a big issue now in companies. The employers start hesitating. They say, well, my employees, they are using the mobile phone and they use the social media for maybe 20 or 30% of the working time. Is it still effective work? Or what are they doing actually? Now, this is one part of the story. We know that many of the employees, they keep working in the night when they are at home. They also use the social media and they keep learning for their job, even during and after their work. Also, social media helps them to work better the next day because they learn between companies. I did some research for medical training, and we know that working together, talking about patient interventions after a brain stroke, that is a matter of collaboration. Involve the right experts at the right moment. And we use the virtual reality with the shutter glasses, as you can see, to make good decisions for students. So it's a big issue. We have here mannequin. It's a virtual patient. You can do endoscopic interventions by these devices. You can even feel the friction if you go in the patient, like removing the gallbladder. This is removing the gallbladder, and this student is exploring how it feels before you go to the real patient. This is such a haptic device. It's like a pen. You can move and you can feel as if you are entering the patient. So this is quite important. And of course, the systems need to be calibrated. Here, one of our doctors, Bob Gilkerken, he's a daily surgeon. He's doing surgical interventions all the day,
excuse me,
and he is calibrating.
Pete, just a moment.
Yes, please.
Could you return, please, one slide back?
Yes, this way? Or one back?
Oh, this one, yeah, this one.
This one? Okay.
So, is it kind of simulation for medical stuff just to feel kind of feedback during medical operation, or what is this device for?
Yes, yes. So you can imagine this machine is connected to the computer, and it has some electromotors, and if you push the pen, then you feel some resistance, some friction, and that should be similar to what you do if you touch, for instance, the stomach of a patient. If you are in the patient, you have a certain haptic experience, and the same experience you will have via this virtual device, right?
So it is just for training motorical skills, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please. So it's not used for the real operations. Yes, there are similar tools for real operations, but this is just used for mimicking as if you are in a real patient. It's a virtual experience.
That's great.
Yes. So now one of the questions that we had is that this doctor is calibrating to make the feeling as similar to the real patient. But the problem is that after the students work for several hours, they perform even better than the doctor in the virtual patients. So that is a sign that after 1 or 2 hours, they should stop the virtual exercise. They should go to the real patient. Otherwise, they get accustomed to the virtual patient, but it's not really similar to the real patient. You see that? It's a kind of, let's say, it's a kind of contradiction. So just to say, we can only use the virtual interaction for a limited number of hours, then we should go to the real patient, and we should have some realistic. Sorry, I should not go too quick because the screen should go to you. This is how it looks like, how the blood vessel looks if you start pulling it, and we did some research. The question was, do we need steady optical device like the shutter glasses, or is the bioptical, is it already sufficient to give a real surgical impression for vascular intervention? So the message was that for the doctors with poor spatial imagination, the 3D shutter glasses were really beneficial, but for the doctors who already had a high spatial imagery, it was not really, it had no contribution. So for those doctors, it would not be necessary. So this is the kind of exercise we did. It's the endograph stent when the patient has aneurysm, when the aorta is too bulky because of obstructions in the femoral veins, then we should make a stent inside. And the real thing the students should take care of here is the sealing of the stent here and here. Please, Alex, give me a sign if the time is finished. I could do some of the results here, and of course a big part of the curriculum is in the medical training that we see now. We see that as a front runner. Good. This is my last slide. Well, it's not exactly my last slide, but it's about the design stage. What I do in my courses here, I allow the students to make existential analysis first. Who am I? Who do I want to be before I undertake the study? Then they should learn to work with conceptual representations like concept mapping. They should do metaphoric rendering. What is the kind of media we need? What's the outer look of the media? They should think about structural design, navigational maps, and 3D collaboration. And this is, I will give you some examples of the, so this is a typical picture I give to my students. Yeah, it's a comical aspect. So I ask my students, what's the meaning of this picture? And in the first session they will say, well, it's simple. It means that you can plant cities, you can plant houses, and they might grow. Or they say this nonsense, you cannot plant a city. This is a critique to urban planning. Just drawing behind your desk how the city will look like, it's bad because people will not feel happy. So this is, but it's a trigger for them. Communication students, they will make commercial things later. And by going through these kind of ambiguous pictures, they become aware that in order to influence the mentality of the customer, to make the customer curious, interested, then of course they need to make interesting conceptual pictures. Same here. This picture played a crucial role in a political campaign in the Netherlands about 15 years ago, when there was a new fast train, the TGV, coming through Holland, through the green heart of Holland. Holland is a very crowded country, as you know, and the line comes from Brussels, goes up to The Hague, and the question was, do we allow a new special track for the fast train, or can we combine it? Now, finally, a journalist in the newspaper drew this picture, and he said, by this picture, it's a nonsense discussion. You cannot be on the same track. It's dangerous. Don't do that. Make a new track for the fast train. And so the members of the parliament of the Duma in Holland, the next day they said, we don't want to discuss. It's clear we need a second rail track. So it's very important to have powerful pictures, conceptual pictures, to affect the mind of the learner, to affect the mind of the customer. So my question here is, what's the meaning of this picture? Is it a medical picture, or is it a commercial, like selling your heart, offering your heart to a lady? And of course the lady will not be very happy, because what can she do with such a heart? It's a very bloody picture. So why do you do this? So the message here is, give your heart is nice, but think about what's the meaning of giving your heart? Also, what's the meaning of learning by heart? So I ask you, please, Alexei, ask to you and to your colleagues, what's the meaning of learning by heart?
Good question. Well, I think first of all it depends on on local culture of study, and in different countries, in different cultural environments, it will have for sure different meanings, I think.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Absolutely. By origin, about 300 years ago, we thought that our feeling and our thinking was in the heart. We had no clue that the thinking was in the brains. You see, at that time, the learning was seen in the heart, because you have to remember the facts. You need to build a relation with the topic you study via your own heart. So learning by heart means learning in the most optimal way. Now we know it's the brains, so we should maybe take a drug or take a good sleep in order to relax the brains. You see, so indeed it's a very cultural, it's a very temporal idea. So this is really my last picture. We have been very active at that time when the institute in Kiev was still called part of the Gluskov Institute
Oh yeah.
of Information Sciences, when Professor Alex Dovgialo was still the professor, and I'm very happy to learn that Professor Viktor Krychenko is still your director, right?
Yep. He's
Yes, and please, Professor Krychenko, if you are listening, I give you my very kind wishes. I am very happy to have been your guest, and I hope I will be your guest in the near future. So my heart is in the Institute of UNESCO, and we did a lot of work together on the learning systems, and I hope we have a good future in making the future on usability studies like we do now on Google, and we have to learn from old cultures like the old schematic drawings in the culture of the Jewish and the Chinese tradition. So please, thank you for all your attention, and I will lead you to my last picture that's about my family. This is my wife and our two daughters. The other daughter is now in Utrecht, she's studying pedagogy, and our younger daughter is Jacqueline. So this is the end of my talk, and please, the floor back to the chairman, Michael, in your place. Thank you for your attention.